Tonight, the president comes out hard against same-sex marriage, and emotions are rising as the debate heats up. With us tonight, San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom. He brought this issue center stage earlier this month when he ordered the city and county to issue same-sex marriage licenses. Nationally syndicated Christian broadcaster, Pastor John MacArthur of California's Grace Community Church. Chad Allen, the actor and producer who starred in TV hits like My Two Dads and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, became an activist after he was outed by tabloids in 1996. And Representative Marilyn Musgrave, Republican of Colorado. The White House says the president approves of the broad principles in the federal marriage amendment. That's an amendment she introduced in the House. They're all next on Larry King Live. Two quick notes. The Democratic presidential debate will take place here on this at this time slot. Thursday night, I'll be the moderator. It'll come from the University of Southern California, co-sponsored by CNN and the Los Angeles Times. It'll be 90 minutes. And tomorrow night's a special hour with phone calls for Sarah Jessica Parker of Sex and the City. Let's begin our go-round here with Mayor Newsom. How did you react, Mayor, to today's announcement by the president?
Well, I was disappointed, but I confess, Larry, I wasn't surprised. Frankly, the president's been talking about this for some time. He certainly raised it in terms of a national priority in his State of the Union. I unfortunately, though, feel it's divisive, inappropriate, and frankly, I feel it's shameful to divide this country like this at a time when we need to unite this country. And I find it unfortunate the president decided to make this such a political priority.
Were you challenging, Mayor, the wishes of the people of California?
No, I was actually upholding my constitutional oath to bear full faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the State of California. And Larry, nowhere in that Constitution does it allow me to discriminate against people. And what we were doing previous to our directive was, I believe, discriminating against people. And I find that abhorrent, and I find that inappropriate. And we wanted to stand up on principle, stand up on the constitutional footing, and we made the appropriate action. Now 3,300 plus couples have affirmed their love, and in turn, Larry, I believe my marriage has been affirmed.
Do you still issue licenses?
We're still issuing licenses. Today we issued another 70 to 80 licenses. We have people coming from all over the world, from every part of the United States of America, and it is just exhilarating to see the love and the bond and the commitment of faith and understanding the responsibilities and obligations of marriage that are being executed every single day down at City Hall.
Where do we stand in the courts, Mayor?
Well, we're waiting to see what happens this Friday. The Attorney General of the State of California desires this to go to the California Supreme Court. We've 3 times been in court. 3 times we've been successful. 2 different judges in those 3 separate hearings have said no irreparable harm is being done. The legal process is working. Frankly, the whole process, as it was conceived of, has been set up and is working as we speak. And we look forward to making strong arguments later in the next court series.
John MacArthur, what is the irreparable harm of gays being married?
Well, I think there are a number of things that we need to talk about. One is it would destroy the family. I mean, obviously, God designed the family to be a man and a woman to produce a child. It is the DNA, it's the genetic structure of civilization. If you don't have that, you don't have civilization, so you're striking it at the very core of its existence.
But what does the state have to do with that? God can do it, and as a religious person, you can practice it, but why should the state be involved in a marriage?
Well, typically the state has always been involved in a marriage, and I think that because the state's responsibility is to uphold what is right, to uphold righteousness. I mean, it's in the fabric of human thinking to understand a man and a woman make a marriage and a family. God has put that in the very thinking of people. It's in the heart. It's there. The state upholds that standard, always has in every state, in every human history, factor of human history.
Do you favor civil unions?
You know,
the president said that should be left up to the state.
Gay and lesbian people can do whatever they want. They can do that in this culture or any other culture, but they don't have the right to determine marriage for a whole nation.
So it's the marriage aspect, not this. If a state wants to pass that civil unions are okay to give
We're
rights.
talking about two things, Larry.
Okay.
We're talking about an issue of civil union. That's a civil issue. If you ask me about whether it's moral or whether it's right, then it becomes a biblical issue.
That might come up later, but
Okay. But a civil issue,
okay.
sure, they have the right to make a relationship if they want.
Chad, why do you want to be married? Why do you want the right to be married?
You know, I'll be honest with you. If you'd asked me this question a year ago, I wouldn't have cared. I said, why do I want to get involved with that institution? Why would I want to have ultimately wind up having my things decided by a court and where they go? And then I fell in love a year ago. And he's on the road right now. When I wake up in the morning, I miss him a lot. I miss him right in my belly. And for the first time in my life, I started thinking about this institution of marriage and what my parents talked about and about building a life with somebody else. And when I woke up today, the president told me that I couldn't have that. The president said he would turn the Constitution around and make it a document of exclusion and tell me that I'm a second-class citizen. That's not okay.
What's wrong with a civil union where a state says you're entitled to all the benefits of marriage, you're just not married?
The bottom line on that, for me, is we had that debate in this country. We already decided as a country that separate but equal was not good enough for us. If that's the case, then it's time that we all stood up and again proclaimed that separate but equal is not good enough for us. And in this case, thank you very much. I appreciate that you're finally going to tell me that it's okay. I can have those same legal benefits that you've allowed everybody else who wants to declare their love. But then you want to tell me that I'm second class because I can't call it marriage? That's not good enough for me.
Congresswoman Musgrave, what do you have against Chad Allen expressing that love with his partner in marriage?
I actually have no opinion on that. What I do have an opinion on is whether or not in this country we will allow activist judges to redefine marriage. You know, Chad needs to be aware that the deliberative process, the legislative process, has been available all along for people to change laws, but they've not chosen to go that way, but rather to go through the judicial branch, activist judges, to get their way. And the American people should not be forced to recognize gay marriage by federal judges or state judges.
But Congresswoman, hasn't it been true in the past there's only two ways to change a law, legislatively or breaking it and then having a judge deciding or a constitutional Supreme Court deciding? Martin Luther King broke many laws on the way to justice. So what is open to someone other than to challenge a law if the legislature doesn't change it, than to challenge it legally?
Well, what is open to them is the legislative deliberative process. If we're ever to change the definition of marriage in this country, it should be done by the American people and their elected representatives. And they've had every opportunity to go that route, but have chosen not to do that because the American people overwhelmingly support the traditional definition of marriage, a union between one man and one woman.
States in the South historically supported a separation of color in the South, and Martin Luther King challenged that. Many states held to it. A black couldn't marry a white in the southern states. Easily 20 years ago, that couldn't happen. Legislature
What we're
didn't
talking
change
about
it.
here, Larry, is the definition of marriage, changing the definition of marriage. And again, if that's to be done, it should be done by the American people and their elected representatives.